Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Improvement Service's first elected members webinar. My name is David Barr and I lead on the elected member development programme at the Improvement Service, and I'll be your host for today. We're just waiting for a few people to join us. We've got elected members coming from attending from across the country. Which is great to see such a spread. So I'll just give you a minute to get in there. So today's webinar is on digital transformation, and I've got two colleagues from the Digital Office for Local Government in Scotland with me, Martin Wallace, Chief Digital Officer, and Colin Butchinall, Chief Technology Officer. Now, before I hand over to Martin and Colin, I'd just like to cover a few housekeeping topics. So today's webinar is being recorded and it will be available to view online via the IS website after today. So please do revisit that and also feel free to share with colleagues. We invite your comments and questions. In order to do this, please use the question box that you will find within the menu that's located to the side of your screen. So I'll be posing the questions that you're asking to our speakers at the question and answer section at the middle and end of the webinar. If we don't have time to answer all questions, somebody from the Digital Office will email you with a response after the webinar. Now at this time, I'm just going to hand over to Martin and Colin to start today's presentation.
Good afternoon all. My name is Martin Wallace. I'm Chief Digital Officer for Scottish Local Government. And I've got
the broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Now I'm the one in the middle, and Colin is the one on the left of the picture. So just to put a name or a face to a name, so to speak. So the Local Government Digital Partnership was set up last October, with the appointment of myself as Chief Digital Officer and Colin as Chief Technical Officer. And in the last 12 months, we've been going out to see all the councils to understand what their perception of digital transformation looks like, and how the Digital Office can help. At the moment, we have all councils apart from Clackmannanshire and Moray as part of the digital partnership. So we've got 30 out of 32. And we work with partners such as Solace, COSLA, Socatum, Scotland Excel, CMIS, NHS, etc. We've got a robust governance model which consists of an exec board, which is the Local Government Digital Transformation Board. We've got a strategy and performance board, and the more important one is the delivery board, which we will touch on later on in the presentation. So in terms of what we do or what our vision for the Digital Office for Scottish Local Government, basically the crux of it is to accelerate digital transformation across Scotland. Ideally, the vision I set out when we started is to do something once and replicate it 30, if not 32 times, rather than do something 32 times and replicate it once. We're all in the same situation in regards to reduction in budgets. We've all got the kind of the moment or understanding of what Brexit's going to mean in terms of funding for local government. We've also got different agendas going on between central, NHS, health and social care, working with different families across, or digital families across the public sector in Scotland. So what we're there to do is deliver sector-wide digital programmes and build stronger relationships between us and local government and the digital family across the whole of public sector in Scotland. So the purpose of today's webinar is to help build awareness of what digital transformation actually means. Digital's banded about a lot. If you open the papers today, we see digital this, digital that. We go to meetings, we hear about digital this, that. You know, growing up or being born in the 70s, you know, my first exposure to digital was digital calculators and digital Casio watches. But it's come a long, long way since then. So what does actually digital mean for public service? What does digital mean for you as an elected member? So today is a start of a discussion about what this means for you in your world and how we can help the elected members across Scotland get the best out of digital and help, obviously, your electorate get the best out of digital too. So I think, first of all, we've got a poll to begin with.
Yeah, certainly. I just also want to say, for those of you that didn't quite manage to hear the introduction, my name is David Barr and I lead on the Elected Member Development Programme at the Improvement Service. If you want to ask any questions today, please do so with the question box that is on the menu, which should be located on the right-hand side of your page. Feel If you've got any questions, please type them in there and we'll be answering them at the middle and also the end of the webinar. If you don't get round to your question, then you'll get a response via email. So please just use that question box whenever you can. So the poll we're going to run today, to start us off with, is I'd like you to answer the question that's on your screen now, which is, we want you to rate your current understanding of how digital is transforming services and citizens' expectations within your council. So your choices are excellent, good, neither one nor the other, poor or very poor. So if you can, the poll should be on your screen, so if you could just choose your answer just now. And I'll just give you another few seconds to complete. And there we go. And so the results are in. Colin and Martin, what do you make of them then?
Okay, 43% good.
43% good. That's good. That's good to hear.
36% neither one nor the other.
Okay.
And 14% poor.
Okay. Hopefully we can actually take that through today in terms of how we can actually help facilitate that and help the elected members and also the councils to transform quicker. So that's interesting. So thanks for that. So I'll hand over to Colin Birchnell to talk about what digital transformation is.
Good afternoon. We have been using information technology, or sometimes called information and communication technology, for the last few decades now in local government, and suddenly people start talking about digital. So why is that, and what's different? I want to cover some of my own perspective of this, and provide kind of an overview of what digital transformation is, how it's affecting our world and our lives. And after a question, I'll hand over to Martin, who will give us more insight into what this might mean to local government and what we're doing about it. Technology doesn't just sit on our desk anymore. It's all around us. We carry it in our pocket. If you have a smartwatch or fitness tracker, you'll be wearing it. Our homes are becoming connected. You can buy devices like Nest thermostats that allow you to control your heating and turn it on while you're travelling home, for example, control your lighting, etc. Our towns and cities are also becoming increasingly connected. Cities in particular at the moment are beginning to trial intelligent streetlights, digital streetlights, and these streetlights can tell you when they're broken in advance of members of the public phoning up to complain that there's a broken streetlight. And similarly, smart bins can tell us when they need filling, etc. Technology is becoming more intelligent as well. It doesn't just compute anymore. It thinks. If you think at home now, with Amazon Alexa and Google Home and technologies like that, you can begin to talk to your home. I've realised a childhood ambition. I can talk to my car, and increasingly, like the Trans Am in Knight Rider, increasingly you'll see over the next few years cars that can drive themselves coming to market as well. And the same technology that allows cars to drive themselves, artificial intelligence, is being applied more practically to things like health and law, and in trials of artificial intelligence in law, of 32 cases, artificial intelligence came to the same conclusion as established judges in 96% of the cases. And similar success rates are being seen for the diagnosis of cancer as well. It's a revolution. What we're seeing with this rate of innovation in the digital technology markets at the moment is a revolution. It's a new era of the information age. 96% of young people in the UK now own a smartphone. As I mentioned, increasingly everyday objects are being connected to the internet. But it's not about technology, it's about data. It's about the volume of data that we now have at our fingertips. 90% of the world's data was generated in just the last 2 years, and it's increasing at a rate of 40% every year. Many people will talk about digital disruption. They refer to the likes of Amazon, Uber, Airbnb, Netflix, Spotify, etc. And they'll tell you how these companies have disrupted global markets, in many cases in a short space of time and with no or little assets of their own. Typically, these new businesses use technology to match supply and demand, and the incumbents in these markets, such as Blockbuster, HMV, Waterstones, Kodak, etc. Global household brands that have built up dominant market shares over decades have disappeared overnight. Well, this couldn't happen to the public sector, right? Let me tell you about Babylon. Babylon's an online service that provides access to GPs from anywhere in the UK. You're not tied to the relationship that you have with your GP. You can instant message, chat, and have video conferences with any GP in the country. And if you need a subscription, it can get sent to your local chemist. So we're not immune to the digital disruption that we've seen in the retail sector, in the travel sector, etc. It has just as much impact on the public sector as well. Digital is a global revolution, and it provides unprecedented opportunities to innovate, reimagine and redesign services. Technology is not the constraint. The only limitation and constraint will be our imaginations. I've attached a photograph of people using smartphones to scan TV images on shelves full of images of shelves full of grocery products displayed on TV screens on an underground platform. This is actually a service that's provided by a joint venture between Samsung and Tesco in South Korea. Those commuters are doing the shopping on the underground as they're waiting for the train. And when they get home, the shopping will be waiting for them. We need to open ourselves up to the potential to transform public services using technology, but it's not about the technology. It's about redesigning our services. It's about delivering better outcomes. I guess our traditional view of technology is it helps us to drive efficiency, improve our customer experience. It's more than that. It can deliver better outcomes. And I think we're going to take a question now. So we'll take the question, and then I'll hand over to Martin to explore what this might mean for public services.
Yeah, so we've got a question here for either Colin or Martin to answer. You can decide amongst yourselves. So will life be fully digital? What about the human element? Because surely that is important too.
I think the human element is crucial. The rise of AI assisting people in living day to day. Colin's mentioned about talking to the car, etc. I can talk to my home, switch on my lights, switch on my heating. I can cast information straight to my television by my voice. I can switch on my kettle and my coffee machine. It gives me a different way of living, but it's there to assist rather than take over. So I think the human element is still there. Ideally, where digital services come in terms of councils, is automating back-end processes so we can get out to the critical frontline services to help people. Human element's still there. It's not going to be a faceless organisation. You're still going to have to interact. You still have people there at the front line helping people in day-to-day care and people in service centres and councils. So it's not going to be fully digital. This will be there to assist, not take over, the way I see it.
Okay, thanks very much for that. And Martin, do you want to take us on to the next part of the
sure.
presentation?
So what does this digital mean for public services? So first and foremost is looking at users first. So the traditional models of industry has been building things and then creating the demand for the user. If we build it, they will come. The fact is the digital revolution gives the power back to the people. As Colin mentioned, in your pockets yourselves, you will have potentially a smartphone. And you'll use that smartphone from day-to-day items such as shopping, banking, entertainment, socialising, using social media, etc. So digital put the user first. It's actually looking at the user first from an internal point of view, from the staffing, but also in terms of the citizen and building the services round about it. So having users first is about looking at ways of co-designing services. So we have to co-design to actually make the thing fit for purpose rather than just doing it one fit for all. And digital can deliver those efficiencies and savings plus better outcomes if we put the individual first. And like I say, whether that's internal individual or whether that's a citizen we're actually delivering the service to. A few years ago, the Christie Commission report came out. And, I'm very, very much a believer in how Christie in the digital age can actually work together to get what we actually require. So services built around people and communities, we have to understand the data around the people in the communities in the first place to actually understand how we can affect change. Prioritising prevention. Artificial intelligence, the data sets that we have can help prevention by actually doing interventions early. Whether that's looking at somebody under elderly care to help them prevent having a fall, by looking at how their actual balance might be off during the day or how they're actually coping in house. Prevention of suffering cold during the winter months, by looking at how the home's being heated using the smart devices like for instance, I have off the shelf in my home, how we can actually prevent somebody suffering in cold and giving them the heat payments they actually require. But also, there was a great example I've seen from Manchester City Council, where a part of Salford looked at a question of how do we identify more troubled families. So they went out and spoke to housing associations and said, what do you see in a troubled family? And they said, well, we see damage to property, whether it's a broken window, broken door, punched holes in the wall, ripped up carpets or strange markings on the carpet. So they took a data set from that. They went to education department and said, how do you spot a troubled family? And they said, well, we see kids playing truant from school, struggling in class, falling asleep in class, not eating properly, looking for help with school meals. So they took that data set. I think they went to a food bank and they also went to A&E, combining the data sets together and applied business intelligence and identified just over 100 more troubled families that weren't in the system. So having that intervention early can help prevent expense and spend on all our public sectors at a later date. So how can data, and there is examples how we can use data to actually do that and prevent in that method. Also, reducing inequalities and promoting equality. We'll talk a lot about the digital have-nots. And again, it could be the same situations we have time and time again in regards to the same sort of families having that trouble. So how do we use the data sets to give them a better quality of life? Again, we can use that by releasing data from apps and also from our frontline services to get data at the right time, the right place, for the right people to make the right decisions going forward as well. Working together to achieve outcomes, we've seen the health and social care come together with IGBs. We've got stuff with Education Scotland and public sector, local government in terms of education. So working together to release the data between both entities or all the entities across the public sector family in Scotland, again, flow of data is crucial for that to get the better outcomes and achieve the outcomes we require. And this, again, all the data can help improve performance and reduce cost by actually automating a lot of services, but also just making sure we've got the data we actually need. We talk a lot of times about big data, but we have to look at what questions you want to answer. What are the questions we want to answer today for your electorate? What are the questions we want to answer as part of the council? And how can data be used to actually fill that gap going forward? So the programme itself, in terms of Digital Office, we came up with 3 themes last year. So digital foundations about the technology stack, cloud computing, kind of all the big technology stuff that might bore you to tears. The digital leadership is about the leadership skills and culture and innovation require. And these two work hand in hand to be the enablers to help us with that effective change we need. And last but not least is digital services. So service redesign. You may use apps, you may not really even consciously know why you use apps, but about user interface and user experience to actually get that better outcome for the individual. Gone are this having a website is acceptable. How else can we actually make them use that website for effective means to get the right information to them at the right time, in the right place, and in the right order? So digital services is crucial in terms of how we promote digital transformation going forward. To give you an example in terms of where the programme has and our programmes of work, we worked with the councils at the end of last year and the start of this year to understand what they saw as digital. We looked for collaboration opportunities, and we came up with 18 key programmes of work under the 3 themes of foundation, leadership and services. Now, in there's hidden 58 individual projects. So actually maybe slightly more now as we've moved things out and increased scope in some areas. But these are what the councils are working in collaboration with. And every single one of our programmes has got a council leading, councils participating, and councils being critical friends. We are the facilitators, and we're also the inquisitors and also the disruptors to ask, are we doing enough to get digital transformation on the right journey? The beauty is, if the council's not leading on a particular project, all the information and the materials are made available to everybody else in the partnership. Like I said, 30 councils in that partnership can get access to pick up the project plans, implementation plans, ROI, benefits realisation plans, and then implement them themselves. So it saves cost, saves time, and saves reinventing wheels. We have no time, we have no money to spend reinventing wheels time and time again. So it's taking the best of breed opportunities, best of breed solutions, and then replicating it 30 times to make sure we're all on the same page. So give examples of what we've done so far in the last few months. We've got GDPR readiness. So GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation. New data policy that comes into effect in May next year. There's been a lot of horror stories made up by salespeople out there about what GDPR mean. So what we've done is we've had Glasgow and Fife lead together with the Information Commission to understand what are the implications for GDPR for local government. We've created actions out the back of that in terms of interpretation of the rules, and we've moved that into alpha recently, or moving it into alpha, I should say, very shortly for that programme of work of what the action plans required for each council. In digital leadership, or should I say for GDPR readiness, what I'm looking to do is using this as an enabler, so we're not stuck with, well, we can't do that from data protection regulation, or data protection says we can't do this. How do we use GDPR to leverage that for the flow of data to be able to be moved between different council departments, but also amongst the actual bigger, wider public sector family in Scotland? The next piece we've then got is, in digital leadership, is digital maturity. So we've been working with councils to understand where they are on that transformational journey, to look at where our programmes of work can help fill the gaps, but also just understand if there's anything we have missed in our consultative part of our journey, to then look at opportunities we can then collaborate together to push things forward as a collective. Again, it goes back to that sharing of information between the local government, but also accelerating together because we're all in the same boat. We all do the same services. I mean, obviously, yourselves will be different elected parties, but that's maybe the only difference we have, because we all have the same services, and more often than not, we have the same challenges as local government. So maturity is helping us identify those gaps in the area. In services and service redesign, we've got two key things out here just now. So health and social care, 9 councils are affected by a supplier moving out of market for social work software. We've got 3 other councils affected by their own bespoke system coming end of life for social work. So we've got a collective working together to understand what does the future look like in terms of social work. So having a look at self-directed care, looking at mobile flexible working for social work staff, but looking at the case management system that has to link into the back end. The biggest bit of work we're working on in collaboration with Technology-Enabled Care, the Scottish Centre for Telehealth and Telecare, and Scottish Government has been around the analogue to digital transformation journey. So you may not be aware that your telephone line in your house will change in the next 10 years. And what I mean by change is what we've had is an analogue telephone service for a number of years, courtesy of BT and now other providers, but that will change into a kind of a broadband voice model in the next 10 years. That gives us a great opportunity to retransform services and how we deliver services using new technologies and new preventative measures such as AI to get better outcomes for citizens. Traditional telehealth and telecare has been a red badge or red pendant round a citizen's neck. My dad's got one. My dad says it's his badge of old age. But my dad wants to be back into the community, going to church on a Sunday, and still have health and social services behind him if necessary, if he needs them, but he can still get on with his life. And as we move more health back into communities, this is a great opportunity to do something with a new digital mantra and a digital first solution. Ideally, we've set an example. We're going to have 1,000 people on this new digital platform in Q1 next year as part of this project work. So watch the space on more on that going soon as well. Digital learning and education, big passion of mine as well, with a teenage daughter in school at the moment. But also, I first trained as a teacher before getting into this digital transformation or digital world. So in terms of digital learning and education, is exploiting what we've already got there that we can actually use. The Scottish Government or Scottish Education Scotland set up GLOW. We've been working with CMIS in terms of the management information behind the scenes, but how do we actually use digital technology to affect better outcomes in the classroom so we can actually have a digital future with our kids? May not know, but 2 out of 4 children in primary school just now will go into jobs that have not even been invented yet when they leave school. Personally, my job role wasn't around 5 years ago, so it just shows you that with digital changing the way the industry and technology works, it also creates new opportunity for new job roles across our lives and day to day. talking of which, digital skills. So to enable this transformation, we need to look at skills within the councils. So this digital skills agenda is primarily for our own internal staff. So we need to get them all up to a basic digital skills level. So somebody said to me the other day from one of the councils, they've got staff shuffling spreadsheets. I don't know how you shuffle a spreadsheet, to be fair, but we have to get everybody on the same page on basic digital skills to interpret data to get better outcomes. The operation of digital skills is looking at big amounts of data. How do we interpret big amounts of data? How do we look at skills for project management? So the traditional method of a thing called Prince2. There's a new thing called Agile. So for me, the simplistic view of doing that is doing things in small sprints of work to test and test again the benefits and the business benefits and the ROI we're going to get out of these models. So we've got a big bit of work to look at operational digital skills. And then we go into the geeky stuff, the technical stuff, the specialized digital data and technology. So data scientists, things like user experience consultants, user interface consultants, to make sure that we make solutions fit for all, for everybody, regardless of their digital capability or digital heritage, to be able to use our services in the more applicable and amenable manner, using the different sort of psychologies and ways of pushing people down the right path to get the right services at the right time for them as well. So, Colin, question to you: is elected members' role in digital transformation?
So I've got a few considerations to talk through that I think there's a role for elected members to support officers with. And as you can see there, it's largely around the ethics of digital transformation. Just because we can revolutionise something and a service with technology doesn't mean we always should. It's about the rights of citizens, whether that's privacy and human rights, and equality, of course, is key as well in terms of how we use digital technologies to reduce inequality, but also ensuring that whatever we do with digital technology doesn't increase inequality, either because of a location or because of a demographic as well. And then we obviously have to ensure that anything we do is secure, and we'll need support to secure investment where it's required as well. So there's a number of key considerations for digital transformation that really could benefit greatly from increased political oversight. So what might this mean for you as individuals and for elected members? Well, firstly, I want to frame a few questions. How can you keep aware of this fast-paced revolution and the opportunities and the impact for the public sector as a whole and for local government? What can we do to help you with that? Second question is, what's your role in digital transformation? Do you have an elected member within your council who provides oversight of digital transformation for your council? And thirdly, how can you make better use of digital technology to transform your own role as an elected member, both at a ward level and a council level as well? And I don't mean the technologies you're using, your smartphones, your laptops or tablet devices, etc., but how you use them. How can you use technology to engage with constituents differently? How can you use technologies to understand your ward better, etc.? So what we want to do for the digital partnership is, with your permission, begin to work with you to develop a programme of work to help raise awareness of digital amongst local councillors, to work with you to develop skills and perhaps leadership roles for digital within councils, and also to explore with you how digital technology might transform your role as an elected member. So at this point, I'll hand over back to David, who's going to just run another poll for us.
Yeah, so thanks very much, Colin. So really, Colin and Martin are really keen to get your thoughts on this. So how keen are you to get more involved in the partnership work to help drive change to deliver services differently for services in your community. So there's a poll that should have appeared on your screen. Your choices are very keen, neither one nor the other, not keen or not interested at all. So if you can go ahead and select your answer. And we've got just over half of you have voted on this, so I'll give you another few seconds just to complete, and then we'll close. Okay, so the answers are very pleasing for you, Colin and Martin. We have 57% are very keen to get involved and 43% keen. No one said they didn't want to get involved.
That's positive. That's good. Thank you. Brilliant. That's good. That's a positive statement. So yeah, we're happy to get involved with yourselves as well. So see how we can follow up.
So what we'll do is we'll work with the Improvement Service and COSLA to identify the best mechanism for us to engage with you to develop a programme of work around this.
I think the point is, again, going back to the users first, it's co-designed. So it's going back to ask what you require to make sure it's actually co-designed with us so you get the best benefit out of it for as many people as possible.
Excellent. Thanks so much. So we're struggling for time a little bit, but I'd like to ask one question that has come through. So I think we'll go for, you mentioned that every council is at a different stage of digital maturity. So given that we all have different structures, how can you drive digital transformation across councils?
Good question. I think it's looking at the collaborative model. I used an analogy the other day when I was asked to present, and it was the digital office is there, almost like Network Rail, to put the tracks to get to that digital destination. Now, the councils are at different sidings or at different stations, and they want to go to different stations to get to that final destination point. But it's how we can then work together to create the timetable. And in that space, we have a council leading, so they could be the super fast train at the front. Other councils which are wanting to participate, or part of the carriages. And we have, followers could be the people on the platform who get on with the rest of the trains to make sure we can get to that destination point. So I think as we've done the digital maturity to measure where the different councils are, it's then looking for the opportunities where we can collaborate. So all the programmes I've done have been, the 18 programmes that we've created, have all been because we've listened to what councils have said and then understood where they are in that journey. And then that's where we have the followers, the participants and the leaders in that space to make sure we do it together. Because like I said, we have got the similar challenges across the whole of Scotland. So it's basically that creating that collaboration model to move that thing forward together and save cost and save time.
Thank you very much. So we're just about out of time now. We ran a few minutes over time, so we don't have any more times for questions. But as I said, for those of you that have asked a question, Colin, Martin, or one of your colleagues will be in touch with an answer. So don't worry about that. You will get an answer. If you've got any other questions, then please do feel free to get in touch. There is the contact details on the screen.
I think also if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Digital Office LG, which I think is on the screen just now. If you want to follow myself and Colin, it's at Colin Birchnell and at digital_MW. So feel free to follow us on Twitter and get involved.
And if you've got any further questions as well, you can get in touch with us at the elected members improvement service.org.uk email address, which I'm sure you all have. So finally, I would just like to thank both Colin and Martin for your contributions today and your insight and expertise. For those of you elected members, when the webinar closes, there will be a very short survey that will pop up. Please do answer the questions and give us your feedback. This is the first webinar that we have ran, and we're keen to run more if you find them of use. So we really appreciate your feedback on that. And finally, thank you very much for your time and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.